My dad was a GP, and so I've always grown up with a strong idea of the health service, the NHS, and kind of what it means to people.
This is me as a young 19-year-old girl when I came to England. England was recruiting for nurses, and it's after I came here then that I realised what this beautiful NHS was.
So I remember learning about the NHS at school, and I just remember being so amazed at how much resistance there was, and yet they still managed to create this incredible service.
I mean, one thing I tell American people who are like, "You really like the NHS?" And I'm like, I'm crazy about it.
As a country, it's something that we should be really, really proud of and not take it for granted either. More of us are coming to the realisation that the crisis the NHS is in is due to a deliberate ideology that wants to make it easier for a private-based system to come in.
If we leave the EU under the terms of Boris Johnson's disastrous Brexit deal, then the NHS is going to be on the table. Donald Trump is going to divvy it up to private pharmaceutical companies, and the NHS as we know it will be gone.
In the last 10 years, nursing's got harder. We do more unpaid work. I see A&Es getting busier.
Short staff, people are getting burnout.
I've been a GP for 30 years. It breaks my heart we can't give enough appointments to our patients.
4.4 million people are now waiting for elective surgery, and that's people in pain and in fear and in discomfort. And cancer rates are the worst ever, with people waiting for treatment, waiting for diagnosis, and that is just unacceptable.
What makes it worse is seeing politicians on TV pretending things aren't getting worse, pretending A&Es aren't overflowing, pretending things aren't getting privatised.
You don't want what I grew up with. 17 years ago, I was in a car accident and I got badly hurt and I had to have some surgeries. My insurance company, when I started to generate big bills, it just dropped me, and I became responsible for tens of thousands of dollars in bills. And that was terrifying. Then I came over here about 5 years ago with a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old and my wife was pregnant with our son Henry. And a little before Henry's first birthday, he got sick. And we found out that it was a brain tumor, and a very bad one. And the NHS took extraordinary care of him. We didn't get the outcome that we wanted. His cancer progressed and he died. But throughout the 21 months that he was under the care of the NHS, the care that he received and that our family received was truly unbelievable.
It's important to remember, amongst all the talk of crisis and challenges, what a brilliant thing the NHS does every single day. The NHS looks after people from the first to the last day of their lives. It helps people when they're at their most vulnerable, when they're suffering, and it does so regardless of your ability to pay for it.
As far as I can tell, the NHS is basically the pinnacle of human achievement. That's a massive reason I support Labour. And I support Labour enthusiastically and proudly. I mean, the real choice in this election, the two sides, are the billionaires, the millionaires who work for billionaires. That's one side. And the other side is the rest of us, the people who use the NHS and depend on it. The disabled kid whose parents aren't wealthy and depends on social care, okay? That's who this election is about.
We need a party that truly believes in our NHS, will invest in our NHS, and that party is Labour.
To save the NHS, make sure you vote Labour.
That's why I think we've got to get rid of the Tories.
I'm voting Labour to save our NHS.
Vote for Labour. Save our NHS.
Please vote Labour on December the 12th.
The only way to end this crisis in the NHS is to vote Labour on the 12th of December.